once again, everybody. This is Steve Ludwig, Evan Ginsberg's co-host. Welcome to another edition of Evan Ginsberg's Legends TV. We have later on in the show, comedian Mike Lemme will be joining us. We also have a live interview from Oregon with Paul Calsil of the legendary Calsils. And right now, we're going to hear the R&B stylings of one of the old-time greats. He was formerly lead singer of the Philly Intruders, now lead singer of Philly Soul. Mr. Tony Strong will be with us in just a few minutes to speak also, but right now, the beautiful sounds of Mr. Tony Strong.
Thank you.
My baby's gonna settle down. I'm gonna make a tune ride, and we gonna walk down the aisle side by side. Lord, I love her and she loves me. That's the way it's gonna be. And baby, you just wait and see. We gonna be united. Oh, we gotta be, and we gonna be united. Oh, we stick together like bees and honey. We go together like green and money. She brightened up my whole wide world. She's got everything I want. I need her, she loves me. That's the way it's gonna be. And baby, you just wait and see. We gonna be united. Oh, we gotta be, and we gonna be united. Oh, yeah, yeah. Take my hand, girl. I wanna be a lover man. But I'm gonna buy a wedding ring, and all the church bells gonna ring. And baby, you just wait and see. We gonna be united. Oh, we gotta be, and we gonna be. But I'm gonna buy a wedding ring, all the church bells gonna ring. And baby, you just wait and see. We gonna be united. And oh, we gotta be, and we gonna be. I want the world to know you and I got to be. We got to be, and we gonna be. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to be here, right here at Living TV with Brother Tom, Brother Steve. And this is a song that Butch Ingram wrote for the Philly Soul. A beautiful song. And I hope you love it. You see, our children, we gotta watch and care for anything that we do. And you see, I was brought up in a home with a father. know today, if I could only I really miss the family love that we had at home. And I also miss my dad's If I could only talk to Daddy, I'll be a better man. Nothing seems to turn out anything like I planned. Although I try to do everything the very best I can, I can't compare to my daddy, 'cause my daddy was a heck of a man. Oh, how I need him. You know how I love him. I'll be much more of a man if I could only talk to Daddy and straighten out my life. Only talk to Daddy about my children and my wife. So many friends and families with smiles and jokes and fun. There's no one for me to talk to. My daddy was the only one. Love the smile of my daddy. He showed me how to treat a family. I'll be much more of a man. Listen, one day my daddy called me. I thought that I'll be slick. I quietly slipped out the back door. Never dreamed that my daddy was sick. But when I got home, I asked my mama what it was that my daddy said. She broke my heart when she told me, your daddy is dead. My daddy is dead. My daddy is dead. If I can only talk to my daddy, he will be helping me on my way. Showing me what to do and teaching me what to say. Daddy, Daddy works so hard every day. You better believe he would say what he meant, and he meant what he would say. If I could only talk to my daddy, I would be a better man. Daddy, ooh, oh, how I need him, my daddy. And oh, how I love him, my daddy. If I could only talk to my daddy, I would be a better man. Daddy. Thank you, thank you. Beautiful song, very beautiful song, We'll Take You Home. And here we go, one that you all remember and love. I'll always is something that you can't describe. It's the kind of love that stays with you until the day you die. She taught me little things like saying hello and turn away. Seven open floors on a bended knee. Hey, she's one of a kind. You got yours and I got mine. Oh, hey mama, my heart belongs to you. Oh, yeah. Hey mama, she's my baby girl. You only get one, yeah. Hey mama, our mother love is so special. It's something that you can't describe. It's the kind of love that stays with you until the day you die. She taught me little things like saying hello and thank you please. While scrubbing on floors on a bended knees. Hey, she's one of a kind. You got yours and I got mine. Oh, hey mama, my heart belongs to you. Oh, yeah. Hey mama, she's my baby girl. You only get one, yeah. Hey mama, I'm talking about my mother. Sweet old mama. Used to scrub the floor on her hands and knees. Used to be a very rough time. Oh, mama. Hey, sweet old mama. Love you, mama. Hey, yeah. I want to thank you. Glad to be here. Lord, God bless you all. To all the mothers that's out there. Thank you very much.
Stretching under sedation or manipulation under anesthesia It's a very gentle, very precise procedure to very slowly release any scar tissue that is formed as a result of a traumatic injury. Many people ask, how does this work? Will I get hurt? Will you stretch me too far? We only stretch the body part to its normal range of motion. After completing the post-MUA rehabilitation program, it's very common that our patients say to us, hey, I can play ball with my kid again. Hey, I can bowl again. Hey, I can enjoy hiking again. This is what makes it rewarding to us as practitioners.
For nearly a decade, Evan Ginsberg's Legends Radio has featured interviews with the greatest names in the arts and sports. Heard worldwide at legendsradio.net, the program has featured these great musical legends: Ray Manzarek of The Doors, Billy Corgan of Smashing Pumpkins, Judy Collins, Roberta Flack, and many more. Stars from movies, TV, and comedy have included Jenny McCarthy, Wayne Brady, 30 Rock's Judah Friedlander, Shelley Berman, Jackie the Joke Man Martling, David Allen Greer, and Paul Mooney. Stars of pro wrestling and MMA include Bruno Sammartino, Rowdy Roddy Piper, Superstar Billy Graham, and Frank Shamrock. Co-hosted by renowned journalist Dr. Mike Lemme, Legends Radio is heard Wednesdays 7 p.m. to 9:20 p.m. Eastern Standard. We are archived 24/7 with hundreds of hours of classic interviews. Legends Radio also features the best in indie music, showcasing talent deserving wider exposure.
I'm from Brooklyn, baby. Don't forget the gravy. We are soldiers.
You missed the birth of your mother and father. Don't you dare miss Evan Ginsberg's Legends Radio.
Yo, what's up, y'all? This is me, GMC, in the place to be, the greatest MC in history. There will never be an MC greater than me. And right about now, the only place for you to be is with the one and only Madhouse TV.
You are the man.
Welcome to another edition of Legends TV. My co-host Steve Ludwig from Classic Pop Culture Radio, and honored to have Mr. Tony Strong with us.
Yes.
It's a beautiful set, beautiful set.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
And during the break, we were talking about the song "If I Could Only Talk to Daddy," and We need more daddy songs. You know, we have "I'll Always Love My Mama," which you also did. But
Yeah.
how come there's so few daddy songs?
I don't know. I really can't answer that. I'm glad the one that I did sing, if I can only talk to Daddy, that Butch Ingram, I feel it was a beautiful song that he wrote, and I told him I wanted something nice. You know, that's me. And he came up with that song, and it's a very beautiful, touching song. You know.
And Steve's dad just passed. So how do you react
Yeah.
to a song like that?
Well, you know, my dad passed a few months ago, and now I hear a song like that, and it's kind of like a nice feeling, remembering your dad. You know, if you would have sung that to me maybe a week or so after he passed, you know, I would have had a rough time with it. But now it's beautiful to have songs like that.
Very
It
beautiful
just
song.
brings back nothing but nice memories of beloved.
And Butch Ingram is a master producer, songwriter. Tell us a little about your relationship with Butch.
Well, with Butch, I met his brother years ago. His brother was backing up Vicky Austin at Harris Casino. And Johnny was playing keyboards then, and he also was a drummer. And then he was telling me about his family. They all, you know, play instruments and they're entertainers. And so one day he introduced me to his brother Butch Ingram years ago. And we really gotten close then. I mean, me and Butch had a lot of love for each other. He loved it. He came to one of my shows. He loved my style of what I do. And I gave him the utmost respect of his work as well, you know.
And he was a great singer in his own right. The Ingram Brothers
Oh,
solo
yes,
albums.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Great
Goes
family.
back, goes
Great
back.
family, yeah.
And his son Carl was here last week, and his daughter Bianca's been here. And Butch
Oh,
has been
okay.
a big part of the show.
Okay, yes, yes.
And tell us about your own work with the Philly Intruders and Blue Magic and Philly Soul, etc.
Well, back in the early 70s, I used to be like helping out with like valeting, and then Steve Bernstein from WMOT Productions at 13th and Grace in Philadelphia, he was hearing me sing, and he said, "Look, why don't you like your tenor? Why don't you be, you know, be a standby singer for Premier?" I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." So ever since then, I have been doing that for a few years, and then I moved on. I got my own group, Tailor Made, in which we was a little successful locally, and then we traveled all around, you know, in Philadelphia, Delaware, Jersey, things like that. Then after that, I started teaching different groups choreography and so forth, and I got
Which
really
is almost a
great in
lost
that.
art today.
Really.
You see rappers, and they're just kind of pacing aimlessly around the stage.
Yeah, that's-
choreography is an art.
Yeah, I guess they call that their choreography. I guess something new, I know. And what inspired me of choreography was Charlie Atkins, that was taught the Temptations and
the
things like
Motown,
that,
yeah.
the Motowns, and that really inspired me in my younger years. And then getting back, as I finished with Tailor Made, then and taught other groups. Then I went with a guy named Mears, all right, Evan Mears, and he had the Phillies Intruders, which he inherited from Eugene Daughtry.
Right.
And Eugene Daughtry, God bless him, he passed now. But he gave Mears the permission to use the Intruders. Right. So Mears was using that. Then as time went on, we went to California, as I was saying. We went to California, and the guy was, he was paying us $50 for doing the show. And I say, something's wrong right here. So what happened, well, he's a nice guy, but the pay wasn't right.
Right.
So anyway, when we got back, we did a tour out in California with Jack Bart. And so I left and I formed my own group in 97. And I was, out in 99, but with Mears I was started out with 97, and he had some guys in New York. And they didn't have the choreography, they couldn't catch that, and the harmony wasn't right. And I told Mears, I said, look, let's get some guys in Philadelphia. So that's when I got Gilbert Morrow and Dean Morrow. And we had Kenny Pitts, which was Mears' stepson, so to speak. And so when we got back to Philly, I hooked up all the choreography. I was married then, and I wanted to leave my wife. But I said, well, I think I better stay here a little longer before I can learn to get this choreography together.
Before you dance out the
before
door.
I dance out the door. So I ended up staying, and when I stayed, and I got the choreography together, and me, Dean, and Keith, you know, we all got together, and we formed the Phillies Intruders, and we went out there and did well. We did well. I mean, the clothing, I do that. The choreography. Getting engagements, I did that, and you know, we was very, you know, we were very successful. But the reason why we changed the name at the time, as a lot of groups do, you get guys that's out here and they, you know, they say they're intruders and so forth, which I don't knock because everybody got to make a living. But you have to have that show. You have to have that sound. And you got to keep that sound if you're going to go ahead and entertain or impersonate someone, whatever. But they wasn't good, and I looked at a few of those guys, and I said, you know what? I like to change the name. So me and Butch Ingram got our heads together, and he said, Tony, you're better than that. And he said, you know what? Change the name. And I came up with Philly Soul, and it's working pretty well. I mean, we still carry the sound. We have new music. We're getting very successful with it, and
it's a perfect name,
you know,
really. Philly Soul works perfectly.
And I love it. So we push that on. You know, a lot of promoters now, they say, well, we have to have intruders. I said, look, you're only good as how you sound, man. You know, if we had the same sound, our sound ain't gonna change. You know, but the name may change, but not the sound.
Yeah, the name doesn't make the sound.
Doesn't
the sound
make the
makes
sound
the group,
at all.
sure.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
When
correct.
you think of Philly, you think of it's a hotbed of boxing, it's a hotbed of R&B,
Right.
it's also a hotbed of pro wrestling. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but when you think Philly, those are three things that immediately come to mind.
Exactly. And R&B is a fantastic thing to do. The music is not going to die. It's not going to go nowhere. I mean, it's just like a tattoo. You get tattoos when you're younger. Then when you get 80 years old, you say, "Oh my God, why did I did this?"
Seemed like a good idea at the time.
Right? But it ain't gonna go nowhere. You know, I mean, you know, R&B will never die, never die. It only gets better. And a lot of these youngsters, I think they're doing a great job in some aspect. But you know, I think at times they get out of character of, you know, saying this about a woman, that about a woman. That's something that we never did, you know.
Right, keep it clean.
We keep it clean,
Yeah.
and we appreciate
Romantic.
the women. And we had grandmothers, man. We had strong grandmothers. We couldn't we couldn't say the things they say today.
You wouldn't
know?
dream of using the word bitch.
Exactly.
Right.
We couldn't say that,
Right.
you know what I mean? So, you know, the only thing that's good for them now is that they used to give us a Cadillac and some money, and we was happy. Now they're getting like the riches, you know.
Yeah.
But it's all okay. But one thing I really like to say is that I love our group Philly Soul because we are one of the groups that does natural sound. It's not the tone or you know, it's not auto tone and anything like that. We what you hear, what you see is what you hear, you know. And I love that. I love it. And the day I feel though the day that I have to go ahead and do that auto-tone thing, I think that's the day I stop singing.
Yeah.
I'll stop singing.
When you look back at your career, any particular highlights, big shows, any?
I like the show that I did, me and Frida Payne, when we was in, I loved her that. She's fantastic.
How beautiful was she, huh?
Oh, man. She's fantastic.
Yeah.
She's fantastic. Carried herself in life well, you could tell.
Yeah.
And me and her did a show together, and it was at Harris, and it was real nice, man. It was real nice.
You know, you mentioned some shows that Tony's done in the past. If I may take a minute or so, I'd like to mention a very important benefit that Tony and the group are doing. And if you don't mind, I'm going to look down just to get all the information correct. But it's on March 22nd, 3 to 8 p.m. It's the Hope for Destiny COPE's neutropenia benefit. Now, neutropenia, as I learned this morning, is a rare bone marrow disease that attacks the immune system. Yeah. And Tony Strong and the group, and Billy Paul is going to be there.
I love Billy Paul.
Billy Paul is fantastic. Yeah. And I just want to give the address and let everybody know where it is. It's at the Colonial Manor Fire Hall at West Deptford, New Jersey. And for ticket information, just email Sue1325@yahoo.com. That's Sue1325@yahoo.com. And it's for little 8-year-old girl, Destiny, who is in need of funds for her. So that's a wonderful thing you guys do.
Oh, thank you. You know, everybody need help in this world, and I will say about Hope, if she sees someone that need help, she'll throw a benefit quick. very beautiful person. She also was our manager once upon a time. She's great, and there's nothing that I wouldn't do, you know, that she's involved in because she's serious about what she does. And I like to say, for the fellas that's in the group that hung with me for years, Dean Morrow, Gilbert Morrow, and Keith Elmore, I like to say they're terrific guys. We all work hard. We have a terrific band, you know, and we love what we do. We really love what we do. I like being here, you know. I'm really glad to be here, you know, because
It's an honor to have you here.
It's people that, like y'all, to keep things going, letting people know that's on television, radio, to keep us going. And they say, hey, you know, those guys are still out there, you know.
Absolutely.
And that's a great thing. That's a real great thing.
It's an honor to work with people like Butch Ingram and Bobby Eli and Rob Russin.
Oh, yes.
Who send us all these tremendously talented people like yourself.
Yes.
I love R&B. I grew up on R&B. So,
Oh, yeah,
you know.
yeah.
I've seen The Intruders. I've seen Billy Paul. I've seen everybody you've mentioned.
Yes.
Just love the music.
Yes, also, he forgot to mention, also the Blue Notes is going to be there.
Yes, I'm sorry, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, the Blue Notes going to be there. And the girls that's here, they call Hope Angels. Well, they is 4 girls that I'm working with Hope, and they're fantastic. They is fantastic girls, and that's coming up. And they singing oldies. I got them doing oldies.
There you go.
Yeah, they're good.
You have any website or social media you'd like to mention before we go to break?
Well, if I do have an email, and people that love to hire us or have us.
Page, right?
Yes, I have a Facebook page, Tony Strong, and my email is tonystrong57@gmail.com. You can send anything there, you know, and we are for hiring, you know, if you'd like to have us anywhere, and you know, we're there, you know.
The choreography alone is, like you said, it's an art
Absolutely.
form that's missing, and you teased us a little bit on stage here, so great.
Yeah, I love the choreography. I really love choreography. You know.
So since you mentioned it, who are the greatest groups as far as choreography? The original Temptations, of course.
Okay, it's a lot of groups. You could go to the Ambassadors. If I don't know if you're familiar with the Ambassadors. The Ambassadors was a good group that did choreography as well. You had the Unifics. They do good choreography. You know, it's quite a few groups that's out here. The Temps is, well, they fantastic.
I love the Spinners.
Spinners was great. The Spinners was great. The Spinners was great. Four Tops, they had their own like choreography. I like when they go ahead and they did their own thing. Yeah, they was great, fantastic. You know, I mean, you know, everybody had a uniqueness that fitted them. The choreography had to fit the group. You can't, you know, it wasn't a thing where a lot of people may think, well, they doing choreography. No, it has to be fitted, just like a note.
The Supremes.
You know.
Stop.
Oh yeah,
Right.
Supremes was I mean, Barry Gordy did his job. He polished them up, you know, and they did their job. That was a lot of work. That was a lot of work, you know. And you had groups like back in the day. We can't forget. You had groups like the Flamingos. You had wow. You had the Flamingos. You had the Contours. You had a lot of groups out there. A lot Hot Tones. You had a lot of groups out there that did well. That paved our way.
Teenagers had some amazing choreography.
Oh yeah, the
right?
Teenagers. Yeah. You know, like I said, every group, like let's say for the instance, the Ink Spots. Well, the Ink Spots, you couldn't see them as a group. You couldn't see them as a group doing wild choreography. They was the Ink Spots. They was a subtle group.
Yeah, stylistics are subtle.
You know, stylistics is a subtle
yeah.
group.
I think the Platters too as well.
Yeah, the Platters. Everybody had a uniqueness. If you see them doing anything different, they would look odd. They would look odd, and it wouldn't fit. So everybody had a nice uniqueness.
Earth, Wind, and Fire has amazing choreography.
And Tommy Marr said the Miracles.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah, the Miracles was fantastic. You know, Miracles had a sound, and Smokey, and they had a great writer, you know, as well, Smokey Robinson. You know, he was great. You know, and then you had Teddy Pendergrass.
James Brown and the Famous Flames.
Oh yeah, James Brown
Tammy
was
Show,
great.
the greatest footage I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, you had so many groups.
You know, and I think too, Evan, and Tony, of course, would be able to answer this. Just to dance alone takes thought and concentration. But singing and dancing
Yes.
together, I mean, that must take a tremendous amount of practice
Yes,
and
it
preparation. Can't be easy.
It takes a lot of practice. I mean, like the choreography on every song that we do, every song it has a meaning to it. It goes with the song, you know. And nothing wasn't out of content. Pants down and doing the oof. We're not we're not into that thing. We do choreography, and that's what it's called. You know, the day I don't know. It's dancing. The day they call it's just dancing to me. You know, you got guys, the pants halfway be down and they slide on the floor. They go one way, come back the other. And
The choreography helps tell the story.
you know, it helps tell the
Right.
story.
Sure,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. So everybody's, you know, I mean, and don't forget, you have to have the harmony with the choreography.
Sure.
Without it,
Right.
you have to have it. It goes together, you know. And I love what I do. I've been doing it like for 45 years. I
45 years. Wow.
45 years. I love what I do. I mean, I went to a church. I joined this church in New Bethlehem, and they didn't have a male course, and they had it was like maybe like 400 people there. And I said, no male course in here? Oh, well, I loved it. I built a male course there. Oh man, and I just love what I do. You know, I love what I do.
And we love what you do, and
Thank you.
unfortunately we must wrap it up. But
Sure.
it's been an honor having you.
Oh,
and,
same
thank
here.
You so
Honor
much.
seeing you. Yes,
And
yes.
thanks to Butch Ingram, of course, for setting this up.
Sure.
Okay.
And I'll let him know.
There you
I
go.
will let him know that y'all, you know, the top notch.
Thank you.
The
Thank you.
top notch.
And when we
you
come
know.
back, ladies and gentlemen, an interview with Paul Cowsill of the legendary Cowsills. Don't you dare go anywhere.
My name is Dr. Robert Brevard. I'm here for Multi-Medicine in Westbury, New York. We're located at 1065 Old Country Road, Suite 214. Been here for about 15 years. The practice has medical doctors, physical therapists, chiropractors, acupuncturists. We also do pain management, and we have orthopedists on staff. Here at Advanced Multi-Medicine Rehabilitation, we've got physical therapists on staff who treat an array of conditions, from neck pain to back pain, shoulder pain. We treat carpal tunnel. We treat a lot of car accident patients, slip and falls. We treat patients with knee injuries, with ankle injuries. We have state-of-the-art equipment. We've been here for over 15 years. Vast array of diagnostic testing, from x-rays to EMGs. What is an EMG? It's a diagnostic test that allows a doctor to determine where the pinched nerve is. Cora is a physical therapist at Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation. She's working on Stephanie, who was involved recently in an automobile accident. Stephanie has tight thoracic and cervical musculature, and Cora is doing some myofascial release work and some therapeutic stretching, doing it to help her with her pain. Vicky is also a patient here at Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation. Vicky is now working her leg muscles, specifically her quadricep muscles, trying to strengthen them after an injury she sustained. If you find yourself in need of any type of physical therapy, please don't hesitate to call Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation, located in Westbury, New York, in Suite 214. Phone number is 516-334-7000, or find us on our website at advancedmultimedicine.com. My name is Dr. Robert Brevard. I'm here for Multi-Medicine in Westbury, New York. We're located at 1065 Old Country Road, Suite 214. Been here for about 15 years. The practice has medical doctors, physical therapists, chiropractors, acupuncturists. We also do pain management, and we have orthopedists on staff. Here at Advanced Multi-Medicine Rehabilitation, we've got physical therapists on staff who treat an array of conditions, from neck pain to back pain, shoulder pain. We treat carpal tunnel. We treat a lot of car accident patients, slip and falls. We treat patients with knee injuries, with ankle injuries. We have state-of-the-art equipment. We've been here for over 15 years. Vast array of diagnostic testing, from X-rays to EMGs. What is an EMG? It's a diagnostic test that allows a doctor to determine where the pinched nerve is. Cora is a physical therapist at Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation. She's working on Stephanie, who was involved recently in an automobile accident. Stephanie has tight thoracic and cervical musculature, and Cora is doing some myofascial release work and some therapeutic stretching doing it to help her with her pain. Vicky is also a patient here at Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation. Vicky is now working her leg muscles, specifically her quadricep muscles, trying to strengthen them after an injury she sustained. If you find yourself in need of any type of physical therapy, please don't hesitate to call Advanced Multi-Medicine and Rehabilitation, located in Westbury, New York, in Suite 214. Phone number is 516-334-7000, or find us on our website at advancedmultimedicine.com.
$1.3 million women are victims of physical assault by an intimate partner each year. According to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, the majority of cases aren't reported to the police. Most people who are in an abusive relationship don't even know they're in one. The truth is, all abusive relationships boil down to one thing: control.
How do you like it? My new dress.
Are you out of your mind? You look like a prostitute. We're not going out with you dressed up like that in public.
But what am I supposed to wear?
Wear something decent. You can't wear that out in public. We're going to be late. Get back in there and pick a different outfit. I'm going to go run some errands. I'll be back in 30 minutes. Please be ready, okay?
Fine, I'll change. Fine.
Abuse is not always physical, leaving wounds that are visible on the outside. Emotional abuse is just as painful, only these wounds are hidden on the inside.
Are you out of your mind? You're crazy. You look like a prostitute.
Know that abuse is abuse, no matter what the form.
Look at me.
Oh my God, what's wrong with me?
Physical abuse scars the body.
I just want him to love me.
But mental abuse scars the mind.
What you just saw was an example of a relationship that is emotionally abusive. Nobody has the right to tell you how to dress or how to act. If someone really cares for you, they won't tear you down. They will build you up.
How do you like it?
Wow. You look great. Fantastic. But then again, you look great all the time.
Thank you. I was hoping you'd like it. It's my new dress. I bought it just so we could go out tonight.
You look stunning.
Thank you. But I think I'm going to take a sweater just in case it gets cold tonight.
Great idea. I'm going to take one too. Let's go.
All relationships are not perfect, but a healthy relationship is when two people bring out the best in each other and have each other's good in mind. Take your time to know someone instead of rushing into something. It is better not to involve yourself with an abusive person than to try and get out of a domestic violence situation.
If someone is abusive to you and you need help, please call the Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE. That's 1-800-799-SAFE. They have highly trained experts available 24/7 who will speak with you confidentially and offer information regarding the unhealthy aspects of your relationship, resources, or immediate support for victims to find safety and live lives free of abuse. Domestic violence affects us all.
It affects us all. It affects us all.
모두에게 영향을 줍니다.
Che ci ricarte tutte.
It affects us all.
Domestic violence.
And we are back live via Skype. We have from the legendary Cal Sills, all the way from Oregon. He got up real early. He was driving all night to get home. We have Mr. Paul Calsill with us. Paul, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks a lot. I love this. Like being on TV without having to go anywhere.
It's nice, right? I think you probably have your bagel and your coffee right out of camera, probably.
I dig it. So how are you?
I'm fine, Paul. And I mean, one of the reasons why we wanted you on here is this is Legends TV, and if there's any group that's legendary, it's the Calsills from the 60s. I mean, you guys, I've seen you, your brother Paul and Susan recently in concert. You guys sound just, if I can say this, better harmonizing than in the 60s, if that's even possible to believe, but you do.
I think you're right. You know, I don't know what it is, but we've become better singers as we've gotten older. I mean, we used to listen to some of the stuff that we had going out. You know, it wasn't as good as now. We're singing all these songs in the same keys, and that really helps these songs come across like the records.
Mm.
Right? That's always important to the people that come to see you. You know, they really just want to hear the records.
One of the, for some of our younger watchers and viewers, one of the all-time biggest songs, Paul, that the Calsills did, one of the all-time biggest songs of the 60s was Hair. And that was, I wouldn't say it was a mistake song, but it almost wasn't meant to be a hit or meant to be released. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, according to MGM, it wasn't meant to be a record. You know, that was really a television show called the Harper's Bazaar actually put it on, and it was called The Wonderful World of Pizzazz. Carl Reiner got a hold of us. Back then, you know, we were really pretty squeaky clean with Mom, Susan, and, you know, all the brothers and stuff. So Carl called us up and asked us to come on and put wigs on, because it was all about the fashion and the culture of the time, you know, which was all about the hair and the clothing. And so we went, oh, yeah, we'll do that. And so he said, do Hair. And we took Hair and we kind of put our arrangement to it. And if you notice in Hair, everybody has a verse. and that was all about a TV shot. You know, it was all about the camera was going to come in on this guy and then this guy. So out of that, we all sang a verse of that song, and then Susan had and spaghetti, and and it was funny because, and so we did that show, and then, you know, we're going, wow, this is a great song. We're thinking of putting it out. And we had an acetate with us, and we were traveling around the United States. We ended up at, I think, WLS in Chicago. And the guy there in Chicago says, hey, what do you got? And, you know, we played it for him. He goes, oh, my God, I'm loving this. And so he put it on his show as like a trivia thing, like who can name this band? And if they name the band, they got a WLS T-shirt or something. And I guess it took a long time. Bob has a better line on this story, but, you know, all in all, that guy lost his job for playing hair.
Lost his job for playing hair. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, he really did lose his job at WLS, which was a really big station at the time. And MGM, they just did not want any part of it. It's why we didn't even do the last verse, you know, because it was, you know, I want to, why don't my mother love me and all that. Well, we do that in our concerts now.
Right.
But yeah, and then that was our biggest seller. It was incredible. So, you know, MGM didn't know everything.
Yeah, that obviously, right? You know, Paul, you mentioned your mom and Susan, your wonderful sister. I'm sure you've been asked this question forever, but what was it like for teenage guys to have their mom and little sister in a group? Come on now. Oh, my goodness.
Well, I'll tell you, if you ask Bob and Bill and Mary and John, they would have all went, oh, my God. But, you know, for me, man, I thought it was always more the merrier. I was just happy to be there, honestly. I mean, I was the last guy in, and I was desperate to get in the band, and it was, you know, I was slow to the go, and, you know, it took me a while to get up to speed with everybody, you know, but I was there. I was on stage a lot earlier than I was actually recording.
I see.
It was like the We Can Fly album. I came in on some stuff there, and then Indian Lake, I remember, was my real big studio debut. But I've been on stage with the guys. I was like the soul man at halftime. At coming back in the second half, they'd make me do, you know, Knock on Wood and Midnight Hour. And that was it. And what we would do? Remember Steve? Remember those tuxedos we used to wear?
Sure.
So we had purples and the reds and the blues and the whites. So whatever the gang was wearing that night, I took Bill's tuxedo and put that on, and I came out, you know, dancing and being silly. I'm still being silly.
Paul, when people see you, first of all, I want to mention that in April 11th, the Cal Hills will be back east at the Cutting Room in New York City celebrating your 50th anniversary, and you are so much fun on stage, Paul. I mean, the three of you, the whole group. I mean, couple of your sons are there, and Russ, Susan's husband. You guys are just a good, fantastically harmonizing band, but just a lot of fun when people come to your shows.
We have a lot of fun. I got to tell you, though, something, Steve. You know, I was playing that keyboard for 20 years, and the keyboards kept changing, and they became computers and synthesizers, and my fingers were fat, and I just kept thinking, oh, my God, you know, and I kept playing it, and I was watching YouTubes, and I was noticing how I wasn't coming in on vocals, and I was slipping out, and we wanted our kids in the band. So I'm just out front now singing and just, you know, having a great time instead of rehearsing every day of my life for 3 hours before, you know, I mean, I would rehearse my whole life just trying to stay up with everybody else. So, but right now I'm just singing, and the harmonies are great, and we're having a good time. I listened to an in-concert album that we had for my brother Bill that we have out now, and boy, I didn't say one word except maybe one thank you because I was on that keyboard trying to keep up with everybody. And now that I don't have that, you know, dog in me, I'm really having a lot of fun out there, and you're seeing me at my funnest moments of this whole thing. And it's so funny the way it's all come full circle. You know, the Happy Together tour is coming up.
Yes, please tell us all about that too.
Yeah,
I love the Happy Together tours, boy.
Yeah, June 1st, that's going to start in Biloxi, Mississippi, I believe. And I've been seeing some of the shows coming on the social media, and it looks like we're going to go from Mississippi to Florida and then up through Pennsylvania and into New York right now. I think that's going to be the beginning of the show. We really haven't gotten a schedule yet. We know they've already sold 40 of the shows, so it's going to be a full-on summer. And we're going to be in the bus. So we're on a bus tour, Steve. And what's crazy about that is that's how we started. In 1967, we left Newport, Rhode Island on a bus. And, you know, hence the Partridge Family. and they had the bus in there for like the first couple of days.
Yeah, Paul, not to interrupt, you mentioned the Partridge Family. Could you tell those viewers of ours that aren't aware that the Cowsills, the part they played in the Partridge Family show? People might not be aware of that.
Yeah, Screen Gems decided to send some writers our way into Newport, and they lived with us for a couple of weeks, and and they had this show in mind, and it was about this family band. And unbeknownst to us at that early time, we didn't realize that it was always going to be for Shirley Jones. It was always going to be Shirley Stink. And we love Shirley. Shirley, I love you. But we had a mom. And so I think, my dad basically passed on the whole thing. And plus, all they really wanted was Susan to be in that show. They thought that all of us boys were rough around the edges, is how they put it. And,
oh, gee, typical teenage boys, you mean, Paul?
But, it was great because the Partridge Family came on and really was successful after we had kind of had our heyday. I went into the military. Everybody was, going hither and thither. And the Partridge Family is like getting, it's just the hugest show. So the Partridge Family so without us, there'd have been no Partridge Family. And now with the Partridge Family, we can say, they really kept us in the minds of people for all these years. 50 years, according to the cutting room.
Yeah. Paul, I want to mention, too, speaking of TV shows, we were just talking about the Partridge Family, but you play such an important role in one of the most favorite TV shows of mine and so many viewers right now, Grimm. You play a very important part with landscaping and things like that. Tell us about that, please.
Well, I'll tell you, everybody on our crew, and we're like a big family. We see each other more than we even see our own families. And what I do is I like to call myself an extreme landscaper. My buddy Chris says, "Oh, you're a landscaping architect," and I went, "Okay, whatever." But what we do is we move the big trees and we go in and we cut them down, and this isn't just like clear cutting the forest. These are trees that were supposed to be sold as Christmas trees, 20 years ago, and the guy never got them sold. We go in there and buy those trees, and we come and we put them on big stands of big plywood, 1.125" 4x4 with metal brackets, and send them on into the set. We'll go into a park or a forest, and they'll have a huge opening, and then they want the forest to be in on that. And when you look at Grimm, that's a heavy forest green show.
Oh, is it ever? Yeah.
Yeah. So I love it. I mean, it's keeping me in shape. I'm 63, and I'm still slinging trees, and I'm on set now, which is kind of a nice thing, except you see, we got off at 4 this morning from shooting. So, but it's an awesome show, and the people who run it are great, and everybody I work with are great. So, yeah, we love Grimm here in this house.
Yeah, and also the first Twilight movie. You were
Twilight.
Same thing.
That's how I got into this green thing. My buddy Dean, I was a carpenter on Twilight for a while, and a plasterer and a painter. And then my buddy said, "Hey, Paul, you should try this greens thing. It's real easy. You're going to like it. You're going to be outside." And I'm going, "Man, I dig outside, but I don't like inside." And but anyway, it wasn't very easy at all. But I sure loved it. And it was I was actually on the second unit on Twilight, which was all the stunts. And so that was
there's that big football scene, Paul.
Yeah,
outside, right? I mean, I'm sure you had something to do with that scene.
These guys,
the baseball.
It was so funny. Steve, I got to tell you. So real quick here on this one, we're doing Twilight, and and we're standing around. So I'm going, "What are we waiting for?" And so somebody, the AD or somebody says, "Well, we're waiting for these clouds to come in. We're hoping it's going to rain because these guys are vampires and they can't play baseball unless it's raining." And I'm looking and listening to this baseball rap, this whole thing, and so I call Bob. I'm on the field. I'm in Washington in some forest there, and I call my brother Bob, and I go, "Bob, you're not going to believe what's happening." I go, "Man, the stupidest thing. I'm sitting here with a bunch of kids that are vampires that can't play baseball until it rains." I said, "Now, how silly is that, Well, boy, it was a huge success.
3 movies later, yeah.
We all know now.
Yeah.
But it was pretty funny. But me and him laughed that afternoon going, "Wow, what do they think of next?"
Paul, before we say goodbye, a couple of things. I want to thank you. I know you drove 3 hours, my gosh, to get home, to be here to do this Skype interview. Because you're in Oregon, you're 3 hours earlier than us here. I want to thank you for that.
For sure. But I really, Steve, I do want to interject. I do that 3 hours not for you. I do that for my bride, for my wife.
I was going to say that next, Paul. I was going to say we happen to be scheduled for Skype, but I think you even Didn't you text me saying, my lovely, beautiful bride is waiting for me, I'm going to drive 3 hours, and if I'm there in time, I'll do the Skype interview? I think you did say that.
Got it. That's exactly what I said.
Right.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Did you hear that, honey?
Before we say goodbye, I want everyone to know, Paul, about the family band Cow's Hill Story. It's a documentary, but it's on DVD. And my goodness, talk about warts and all. I give you all the credit and your siblings for really telling the story, Cow's Hills, with no window dressing, if you know what I mean.
You know, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you one thing about the Cow's Hills. We are resilient. And the other thing I'll tell you about them is, you know, we're not afraid of the truth, and we're going to speak the truth. And, you know, that kind of sets you free, as they say. And so that was a very cathartic, and we love and we thank Louise Palanker. But that was a very cathartic and a very important thing that happened for us. And we were dragging our heels the whole way, honest to God. Yeah. But, you know, that documentary film coming out has really helped us out in the many, many ways.
Yeah.
You know, I think it has a lot to do with us having gotten the Happy Together tour. We're good, and we've always known we're good. But, you know, there's that name association with who the heck are they and all that. Well, I think we might have just gotten over that hump.
Yeah, and Paul, you're being too humble. Good is too simple a word. You guys are fantastic, and I'm not saying that. I've been a fan since the 60s, but I wouldn't say that if I didn't feel it, honestly. And you guys are just, as people will see, with the Happy Together tour at the Cutting Room, you're great. And Paul, as I say goodbye, we're going to watch some Good Years video from the Global album. Quickly, can you lead us into that? What about Some Good Years? Wonderful song.
Well, you know, my brother Bob is about the best writer I've ever known in my whole life. And that guy has produced music after music after music. And, you know, we were just at a time where it looked like things were really going to cook, Steve. You know, it was one of those 10-year things where it could have been the 70s, the 80s, or the 90s. I forget which one it was. But, you know, it looked like things were going to happen. And so, you know, and Bob, you know, he's a reflective kind of guy. And I know he was just sitting there and just thinking, you know, back on the good days and, you know, how they were really some good years even, you know. Sometimes you think, oh, wow, that sucked. But, you know, when you get down the road and you look back, well, it didn't suck so bad, did it? And so I think that was basically his reflection. We love singing that thing, I'll tell you, you know, because he's kind of telling the story of us, you know, of all the brothers and the sister. And, you know, I don't really know about mom and dad if they had some good years, but we did.
Yeah.
And so, and that's what we want to, you know, tell everybody, that we love what we're doing. We love each other. And, you know, what they're seeing up there is our harmonies and all that sibling stuff. But what they're really seeing up there is just the love that we have for each other. That is what is the driving force behind all of our great singing or any of that. It's the love that we have for each other, my brother and my sister and myself and my other brother and the kids and everybody.
And, Paul, from everyone here at Legends TV and Madhouse Studios, we hope you have many, many more good years. And thank you so much for the music. And thanks so much for coming on with us.
Thanks a lot, Steve.
All the best.
Okay, man. I'll see you later.
Okay.
I'm going to go eat and sleep.
Do it, Paul. We're going to watch the video right now, Some Good Years.
Okay. I'll watch it with you.
Okay,
no,
bye-bye, Paul.
You don't want to.
Please do. Goodbye.
Okay.
Now you can, Paul. Okay, we're off.
Okay.
And here is the luncheon cave.
And the best part was I'd take my peanut butter and syrup sandwiches and eat them here, then go to the rest of the beach over there and come back. It's a good hour and a half time killing for a Saturday. But the best part was when I had my two kids, Colin and Kira, in this cave, and I would have never known at 9 years old eating a peanut butter and syrup sandwich that my two kids would be in the same cave with me however many years later. That's what blew my mind. Clean the dust off that floor. A great place for a kid to grow up.
Tell me something. How did they start out?
Oh, that's a long story. They just all had this in them and it had to come out.
Hey, you know, I think you're about the most talented family I've ever met, really. I mean that.
Mr. Sullivan told you, the name of our group is the Cowsills.
I'm Barbara, mother. And I'm Susan.
And I'm Paul.
I'm John.
I'm Barry. I'm Bob.
He's in charge of
production and reproduction.
For nearly a decade, Evan Ginsberg's Legends Radio has featured interviews with the greatest names in the arts and sports. Heard worldwide at legendsradio.net, the program has featured these great musical legends: Ray Manzarek of The Doors, Billy Corgan of Smashing Pumpkins, Judy Collins, Roberta Flack, and many more. Stars from movies, TV, and comedy have included Jenny McCarthy, Wayne Brady, 30 Rock's Judah Friedlander, Shelley Berman, Jackie the Joke Man Martling, David Allen Greer, and Paul Mooney. Stars of pro wrestling and MMA include Bruno Sammartino, Rowdy Roddy Piper, Superstar Billy Graham, and Frank Shamrock. Co-hosted by renowned journalist Dr. Mike Lemme, Legends Radio is heard Wednesdays 7 p.m. to 9:20 p.m. Eastern Standard. We are archived 24/7 with hundreds of hours of classic interviews. Legends Radio also features the best in indie music, showcasing talent deserving wider exposure.
Brooklyn, baby, don't forget the gravy. We are soldiers.
You missed the birth of your mother and father. Don't you dare miss Evan Ginsberg's Legends Radio.
All right, and we are joined by comedian Mike Lemme.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Thanks for having me.
We have a mutual friend in Nico White.
Yes,
who,
the great Nico White.
Kind of made this happen, and Tell us a little about Nico. This kid is going to make it. I have that feeling.
Nico's gonna, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. We'll see if Nico makes it though. Nico's great. He just put out a new album. It's called Introducing Me. It's, you can get on iTunes and Amazon. He's working really hard.
What is he now, 21?
I think he just turned 21. I think
he did an hour 20.
He did an hour and 20 minutes. I think he ended on a standing ovation, and he got it all on. He's coming out with a DVD.
I was there at that show.
Yeah, I heard it was a great turnout.
Tremendous.
It's awesome. He's doing a great job.
And tell us about yourself.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you guys for having me. I want to know who's giving me a ride back to the train station. I feel like I need a ride back. I feel like I need to get a ride back to the LIR.
Whoa, look at the time.
Steve, come on, man. Come on. You got to look out for me.
I'm here, Mike.
I grew up in Massachusetts. I moved to New York about 3 years ago. I've been doing stand-up I've been taking it seriously for about 5 or 6 years. I did my first show in high school, but I was only doing it like once a month for a while, and then I moved out to Boston. Started doing stand-up more often, and now in New York I try to do it at least once or twice a night. So I'm trying to take it very seriously now.
I've been watching religiously Inside Comedy with David Steinberg on Showtime, and there's a lot to comedy that people don't realize. First, overcoming the fear of rejection. Tell us a little about that.
You just gotta get used to it. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of rejection in comedy. I do a lot of shows where there could be a packed house, or there could be like 5 or 6 people, but either way, it could be the best show ever or the worst show. It's just like how much you put into it. So no matter if there's only 1 or 2 people in the audience, or if there's hundreds of people, you have to bring your A game, because you're going to have to deal with a lot of rejection eventually. So
have you found yourself getting a thicker skin as
your
experience goes on? Yeah.
Especially in New York, because you never know who you're going to be performing in front of. Could be a lot of people that barely speak English.
That's right. One of those 6 people could be a producer or a director or a talent scout of some kind. You never know.
So you got to be prepared. You want to always be on your A game.
And also, you need networking skills.
Yes.
Now, when you see a comedian who doesn't even have a business card, you're kind of like, oh, he's just a kid. You know, you want people to take you seriously.
It's I heard an interview with I don't remember who. It might be Chris Rock, but it's show business. The business is the longer word in that. So you got to. I don't remember. It was some comedian. I think it was Chris Rock, or maybe it was Seinfeld said that. But you got to focus on the business.
So I went down to the New York Comedy Club about a month ago. I had a buddy in from California. And there were probably 15 comedians that night. We were there 2.5, 3 hours. A month later, I remember maybe 3.
Right.
Okay, so it just becomes a blur. So how do you, meaning you or the universal you in general, how do you stand out when you're in a pack of comedians?
I think it all depends on your material. You gotta be rememberable. So. It's all about finding your own voice. It's all about having people remember what you talk about. Like for me, I talk about a lot of personal things. So I talk about my family. I talk about something that's unique to me. So a lot of comedians will go out there and just talk about observational things, which is great. But you want the audience to like feel like they're getting to know you. So that's the best way to be memorable, is like if they actually feel like they know you at the end of the set.
I don't think we need any more airplane jokes.
They could be funny, though. They could be great. It could be some great jokes.
Yeah. The funniest airplane joke was Seinfeld said he doesn't like to think of his seat as a flotation device.
Yeah, you never want to think about that.
That's right.
You know, may I ask, Mike, how long is a typical set that you do in a comedy club?
It all depends. Usually it's between 7 to 10 minutes is a set, or 10 to 15 minutes. That's the toughest thing about New York, is it's hard to get used to performing for longer, because when you get booked on a show, even big guys like Dave Attell, he's only doing a 15-minute spot, and if he wants to do a longer set, he has to go out of New York. So it's hard to get used to. I'm trying to work on an hour of material for a festival that I'm doing, but it's hard to piece that together if you're only doing 10, 15 minutes.
I'm thinking 7 or 10 minutes. I mean, it's obviously not just 7 or 10 minutes when you prepare. It must take hours and hours and hours to come up with 7 minutes of material that works.
Absolutely, and then you want it to flow well. So you want all the. It's like putting a puzzle together. You want to make it look good.
Exactly. And speaking of your comedy, we're going to see a video. So you want to set it up?
Yeah, this is a performance I had at the Comedy Studio in Cambridge. It's a great club. I performed there a lot, and it's from a couple months ago. So check it out.
All right, let's watch this, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going? Hey, I grew up in Massachusetts, but I just celebrated my 2-year anniversary of moving to New York City. I've been living in New York City for 2 years, and I love it. I love it there because in New York, I look healthy. I love it in that city, man. I'm never leaving. Because I grew up in a small town, right? Like where I'm from, people take one look at me and they assume I do drugs. Yeah. But New York is 10 times better. In New York, people take one look at me and they're like, that guy's a vegetarian. It's so much better. It's hard to get used to living in a big city because I grew up in such a small town that there's things I gotta get used to. Like where I'm from, safe sex means do not sleep with Emily. That's just where I'm from, guys. And the saddest thing about it is I never hooked up with her. I never hooked up with Emily because I didn't believe in myself, guys. Like, I haven't always been this 130 pounds of self-esteem that you see in front of you right now. Like, I had to work hard to get this way. And I think part of the reason why I didn't hook up with her as a kid or as a teenager is because I grew up in the suburbs, and I had a lot of problems in the suburbs. But for those of you that live in the suburbs, you know you don't talk about your problems in the suburbs. That's something you don't do. That's why you have houses, yards, and fences, okay? Because you want to keep people as far away from your issues as possible. But when you live in a big city, you're kind of like encouraged to express yourself. Like when you live in Boston or New York, you're encouraged to like talk. People don't listen. They probably think you're crazy, but at least you know you have that option. Like in New York we have the saying, if you see something, say something. And that means if you have a problem, tell somebody about it. Again, no one really does, but you have that option, okay? We didn't have that option in the suburbs. If you had a problem in the suburbs, that saying was more like, if you see something, who cares? Start a family. That's how you repopulate the suburbs. Now, I love my family, but we suck at being a family. I gotta be honest with you guys. That's just how it is. And whenever my dad hears me make jokes about them, he's always like, you know what, Mike? You can't choose your family. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Like, I couldn't choose my parents. But he could have bought condoms. That's just how it works. You can choose your family if you know you have options. Like, that's how it works. But I don't think my parents knew they had options. I think they just, it's just... Alright, so my dad's kind of quiet. He's a quiet dude, right? And my mom... she's on the sad side. She's a little sad. She's got depression, right? And when you combine those two, you don't get a happy family. You get a comedian. That's what you get out of that relationship. That's what you get. Like my family, we don't have any family photos. This is true. We don't have any family photos. Like to think about us being all together as a family, we have to read police reports. Just to reminisce about the good times. And I'm surprised I've survived 2 years of living in New York City. It's one of the hardest places to live. Because I moved there with just the things my family gave me. And that is depression. And scoliosis. That's all I got. That's all I got. But like, here's how low my self-esteem was before, like, when I moved. The first time I started to feel a little bit of confidence in myself was when I was in New York and a black dude introduced me to someone as his boy. Changed my life forever. It's insane. Like, my dad never called me his boy. I'm his boy.
All right. right, and we are back. That was the comedy of Mike
Hey,
Lemme.
thank you guys. Thank you so much.
You got it. Who are some of your influences in comedy?
Favorite comedians are Chris Rock, Richard Pryor, Christopher Titus, but also just performing in New York. Like Nico influences me a lot, and it's just like seeing guys working very hard to make something of themselves. So there's a great comic named Suba in New York, and Emma Willman. Just comics that I'm working with every single night inspire me a lot.
And what makes a better comedian? Just getting on stage again and again and honing your craft?
I think so. I think it's just like you gotta balance your time out well. You gotta perform. You gotta take time to write, but you also have to network and stuff like that. So you have to just if you can do it all, that's great.
Yeah. It's a tough business.
It's very tough, but it's fun at the same time.
In the old days, it was get a shot on the Tonight Show and you're an overnight star. Today, there's thousands of channels, and
Right.
I have comedian friends that have done Craig Ferguson, etc., so on, and it doesn't work like that anymore. It's like a needle in a haystack. So, is the ultimate goal a sitcom, or what's your ultimate goal?
I don't know. The ultimate goal keeps changing every year. So as long as I can keep doing stand-up at night, I'm happy.
Right.
Maybe if I could do like if I have a writing job on a late night show during the day, then do stand-up at night. But eventually, you just want to get to the point where you can just live off of what you're making through stand-up, and it's hard to do. So you got to find some other outlets that are still comedy related.
And you worked with Team Coco? Tell us
Yeah,
about that.
I interned for Conan O'Brien when I was in college, and it was one of the best experiences of my life because Conan's always been someone I looked up to.
He's great.
He's so funny, and he's doing great at
How'd
CBS.
you like him personally?
He's nice. He's super
Good
nice
guy.
to talk to. Gives great advice, and it was just.
It's good to hear that because some comedians are like bitter pricks, you know, right?
Oh, I know a couple of those. I know a couple
Yeah.
of those too. But Conan was super nice and a great guy.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear. So, what are some of the highlights of your career thus far? You're a young guy still.
Yeah, I think just moving to New York and doing stand-up in New York has opened up so many different doors for me. I worked on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and I did some. I got to do some audience warm-up for them. So I worked as an audience page. But they have a comedian open up the show and entertain the audience before the host comes out.
Right.
And if that person was running late, they'd send me out there. So
Okay.
I got to fill in for the warm up guy, and it was a great experience. My dad was in the audience one time I did it, and it was just it felt good.
Is there a particular club you like more so than others? They're kind of variations on a theme with the brick wall behind it.
Right. I like them all, but I usually hang out at like Greenwich Village Comedy Club, New York Comedy Club. Stand up in New York. I try to bounce around. Gotham's a great spot. So wherever I feel comfortable, I like to hang out there.
And you have some big gigs coming up in Massachusetts.
Yeah,
Want to tell us about that?
I'm working on kind of a one-man show. I'm going to do a one-man show. It's
Awesome.
going to be called Where I'm From. It's all about growing up in the suburbs. I'm doing a run-through of it in Boston on February 7th. And then February 20th, I'm doing a fringe festival here in New York.
Okay.
At the Under St. Mark's Theater. So I'm looking forward to it. It's a little stressful, but I think it'll pay off.
Is there any kind of stigma growing up in the suburbs? You don't have that Williamsburg artistic credibility, or that's such nonsense, isn't it?
I think a lot of people's perception of the suburbs is wrong because I think everyone thinks of the white picket fence and the two-story house, but there's a lot of problems inside those houses that no one talks about. Okay. So it's kind of like a smoke and mirrors. It's a magic show.
And Steve, you're a big fan of comedy. Who are some of your favorite comedians?
You know, I don't hear this name mentioned more than it should. Robert Klein.
Oh yeah.
From the 70s, 60s and 70s. There's an album he had out called Mind Over Matter in the 70s. Yeah. He still is, of course, great comedian, but he was one of my all-time favorites.
Martin Mull is brilliant, and he basically gave it up. He's a painter now.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Oh yeah. Fernwood Tonight, America Tonight. I mean, Martin Mull was huge in the 70s, and he kind of
of course,
in a different direction.
George Carlin, Richard Pryor,
Sure.
Up there.
Generally, when you speak to somebody older, they'll always go Pryor, Carlin, and Lenny Bruce.
Right.
Yeah.
But without those guys, the guys today will not be.
It's like the Mount Rushmore.
It's the Mount
comedy.
Rushmore comedy, yeah.
Pretty much. And so where do you see yourself down the road? What would you like to be doing?
Down the road, I want to eventually go to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
Oh, yeah.
And that's, it's the whole month of August in Edinburgh, and you do an hour show every single night. but you also have to promote it at the same time. So I feel like I'm just challenging myself everywhere I go. Right. It's like I got promoted, I got to write the show, I got to perform it, but just to see if I can actually pull that off will be fun.
I always felt comedians have to be good actors and actresses as well. Yeah. Of all the other kind of entertainment, non-actor, you know, I mean, because you really are selling what you're saying.
Exactly.
And do you find that yourself, that it's actually like an acting gig as
people,
well?
Yeah, a lot of people expect, if you do stand-up, they expect you to do at least some sketch comedy, but it helps out a ton because if someone's watching TV and they see, if they see your face on TV, they're going to remember you, and then if they're walking by a comedy club and your face is in the window saying, oh, this guy or this person's coming to the club, you're like, all right, I saw him on TV, it was funny.
Right, that's right.
So it's an easier way to build a fan base.
Many times, comedians, when they turn to acting, they'll do a dramatic role, and they're very
Right.
powerful.
Right.
Robin Williams did some powerful.
It was great, great
roles.
actor,
Yeah,
absolutely. And it just, I think the longer you do stand-up, the more you find out you can do other things as well.
A lot
like
of
acting and
comedians
writing.
come from a place of pain.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of pain,
Yeah.
in comedy. But that's what makes the best jokes most of the time. Is just something that really happened, and you can.
If everything was wonderful, it wouldn't be funny.
It will not be funny. That's absolutely correct.
That's right. That's right. So please give out any contact info.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at LemmeNYC, or check me out at MikeLemme.com.
L-E-M-M-E.
L-E-M-M-E. Thank you, Steve.
Sure.
Appreciate that.
And Steve, plug Classic Pop Culture Radio.
Just planetludwig.com. We have just did an interview with Dick Dale, 2-part interview. We have Question Mark coming up. We have Evan Ginsberg coming up. And,
Hey, there you go.
Always
That's
a lot
gonna
of
be a
fun
good one.
at planetludwig.com. And you know, Evan, I do want to mention to everyone, Evan got out of a very, very sick bed to be here. I mean,
The show must go on.
Old show must go on, but you were.
I was deathly ill yesterday.
It was going to be the Evan Ginsberg Memorial Show, the way you were sounding. But
That's right.
you know, kudos to you for getting out of bed and coming.
Thank you. Never let them see you sweat.
That's right.
That's right. Should about do it, folks, for another eclectic mix. We went from R&B to old school rock and roll to comedy. And thank you, Steve. Thank you, Mike. Really appreciate it.
Okay.
And we will be back next week with Legends TV. Thank you, folks.